Like I said, today we're talking about manage givers. So there's really a lot you can do in this manage givers screen. There's two ways you can get to it. Right in the middle here in this green box, or you can come up to the top under givers, click manage givers up here. It's going to take you to the exact same place, so it's up to you how you choose to get there. Let me make this a little bit bigger. So the Manage Givers screen is going to be made up of everyone that is in your database. Okay, so that's people that have been entered over in the membership module. If you own the membership module, anyone you put in over there, their information is going to then carry over here into donations. And then also anybody that you enter specifically into the donations module. We call those people donations givers. And you can enter them as a group or you can enter them as an individual. Now, a lot of times people will ask me, well, do I want to enter a new person in through membership or do I want to enter them in through donations? It's really up to you. There really isn't a right or wrong way to go about putting in new people. But for me, I kind of use it as, I use a deciding factor for that as, is this person going to come back to the church or not? If you know that this person already has a church home and you know that this person isn't going to be joining your church, then I would say just put them into donations as a donations giver. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. Now, if you find you're unsure if they're going to join your church, maybe they just showed up and you don't have any idea who they are or what they're going to do, I would put them over into membership as a visitor. And then from that point, if they do continue to come back, you can change their category as a member if they join, or you can just leave them as a visitor. And if they don't come back, just make them inactive. And so that's kind of how I decide if I want to put someone membership or donations. But again, it's up to you. There's no right or wrong answer, but I would suggest if you do decide what procedure or practice you want to follow, then just make sure you stick to that so you have some consistency moving forward. Okay? So let's talk a little bit more about Manage Givers. So I'm on page 11 from the Donations 101 workbook if you're following along. When you come into this screen, a couple things I want to point out right off the bat. Down here at the bottom under display options, you can show active. You can also show inactive, and you can see these people are turning up in red here like William and Dylan. So these are people who've been marked inactive over in membership. Okay, or they've been marked inactive because they're a donations giver over here in donations, and I'll show you that in a minute. But this is a real easy way to kind of toggle your display of who you're going to see here when you're working in Manage Givers. Okay, so you can have both checked or you can have one or the other checked. It's completely up to you. Okay. Another thing I want to point out quickly here is you have two tabs. You have the individual givers tab, but then you also have this families and groups tab, okay? Now, individual givers, this is going to show you every single individual that you have entered over in the membership module because those records are going to carry over and display in donations as well. And it's going to show you any donations individuals that you have entered, okay? Now, families and groups is going to then take for all of those individuals that you entered, and it's going to list an item for the family. So if we look at the Bells here, you can see there's a Mr. and Mrs. William Bell. So this is their family name from membership. But then if we go back to the individual givers tab, you're also going to see them listed here as well, Donna and Bill. Okay, and it's normal to see the individuals that make up the family on the individual givers tab and then on the families and groups tab to just see one line item with their family name. Okay, and that family name or that group name, as the column header says, is their mailing label name as has been set over in the membership module. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit more about kind of defining or being able to figure out where these records are coming from. This column right here, this member/donations giver column, this is really helpful in showing you who's who in your database. So anybody with a mem next to their name, if you hover over it, it'll tell you exactly what it is. This record here for Nina is being pulled from the membership module. If you see a DON, that's telling us this record exists originally in the donations module. It also puts a little D after their last name, and then for visitors it will put a V unless you've changed something, but that is the default setting, okay? Now let's talk about adding families. So there's several different screens in Church Windows you can add new people. You can definitely add new people over in membership, but you can also add new people several places here in donations. You can do it while you're entering donations, while you're entering pledges, or you can do it right here in Manage Givers. And additionally up here at the top using add individual or add group. So I want to go through one of these as well. So right here in Manage Givers, you have this little green plus sign. That's always going to be an add button, okay, to add additional fields or an additional person or an additional record, okay? So if I hit the little green plus sign, it's going to ask me, what do I want to add? Do I want to add a membership individual or do I want to add a donations individual giver, okay? If you choose to add a membership individual, this is going to create this record for you over in the membership module. So they'll exist over there, and then because they exist over there, their information is then going to carry over to you here in donations, okay? So you can choose to create a whole new family, or you can choose an existing family and just add another individual to that existing family from membership. You have to choose their family category. You have to put in their mailing label. I'm just going to do my family here, and then your address. And if you don't have the address information, that's fine. You can come back to it later. And then their zip code, okay? And then if they have any alternate address information, you can do all that here on the fly. If you don't know this information, because this record will exist in membership, you'll have to jump over into membership, look up the clients, and then put in the additional information here, okay? Once you get the basics filled in here, then you're going to come back over here and you're going to put in the individual's information. So let's do Mitch first. He can be primary. And then I'm going to come down here, and again, you can put in just basics, or if you know all of this from the get-go, you can put all that in. And then I'm going to hit add another individual to this family. Now we see Mitch exists over here. I'm going to come over here and put myself in. I'm going to give myself a directory reporter of 2. And then I can say add another individual or cancel. I'm going to say, well, if I wanted to add my kids, I could put add another individual in and put both my boys in. But for time's sake, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say add this individual and close. Okay. So now if we look in this list of people, now we have Mitch and now we have Rachel. I've created a record for both of them. Okay. And if I go to the families and groups tab, I'm going to have my family record as well. Okay, so that's exactly how it should be set up. All right, now back to individual givers. Let's hit the green plus again, and let's say I want to add a donations individual giver. This is someone that I only want to exist here in donations. I don't need them over in membership. Okay, so giver number. If you want this person to have a giver number and you are aware of a number that is available, you can pop this number in right now. If not, or you don't use giver envelope numbers, just skip this field. It'll allow you to skip it. And then we're going to do our next person. I'm going to put my mom in here. She works at Church Windows as well. I'm going to put her first and last name in. If I know this other information, I can easily put it in here. But if I don't, I'm just going to add the giver, and then I'm going to be finished. So now we see Pam Henderson. She has a D, which means she exists as a donations giver in the donations module only. Okay? Pretty easy stuff here we've done so far. Let's talk about families and groups. Same thing, families and groups has a little green plus sign, but the only option you're going to have over here is to add a donations group giver. So this is a group or a family that you want to set up just in the donations module. So this is really handy if you have like a business or an organization that's made a donation to your church and you want to put them in here. Or if you have a couple that gave and you know they're not going to be part of your church, they have a church home somewhere else, they're just in for a memorial, whatever it might be, you could add a group giver here. And this would allow you, if you want, to put in a number, but then just assign a group name. So that will be something like Mr. and Mrs. Bob Smith. And then you don't have to create multiple records. You can just do one group record for each couple, okay? All right, let's talk about assigning giver numbers. So there are several different places here in donations you can assign a giver number. And the different places you can assign the giver numbers are going to do a little bit different things, okay? So if I wanted to, I could come right in here and I could put in a number for Pam. If I know what number is available for Pam, I could come right in here and I could simply just type in a number if I wanted to. All right. Now, if you look over to the right on this giver number tab, you can see I have successfully assigned Pam number 888. And if you look over here, it's going to default to assign the number for the first of the year. All right, so anytime you assign a number directly into this Manage Givers screen, it's going to default to the first of the year. Now, sometimes this can get tricky because maybe somebody had this number the first week of January, but then they didn't have it anymore. It ended on the 7th. That's fine, but you can't assign a number here because it's always going to default to the first of the year. So make sure if you're popping in numbers on this screen, you know that number's been available since the first, which can be a little tricky once you get later into the year, okay? But let's say you do need to assign a number to someone and you want to set the start date that that number is going to take effect. Okay, you have to go to a different screen to do that. I'm going to close Manage Givers and I'm going to come up here to Manage Numbers. This is the best screen in my opinion for assigning giver numbers because it gives you the most flexibility for putting in numbers. Okay, it allows you to pick when you want that number to start for someone, and it also allows you to pick when you want that number to end. All right, so I'm on page 16 now if you're following along. I'm going to look up Nicole here in my Manage Number screen. We have a whole video on this, so if you want more detailed information, check out the Manage Numbers webinar I did. But first thing you're going to do here is you're going to search for the person you want to assign the number to. I'm going off the example in the book, which is Nicole. And then I'm going to come over here to the right and I'm going to hit Add New Number. I'm going to give Nicole the number I want her to have, which is 999, and then I can come down here and I can adjust when I want this number to start. If I want this number to start today, I can hit the down arrow and I can just click today, and it's going to automatically put today's date in. Or I can manually type in using on my keyboard if I want to type in or pick a date from the calendar picker. But then I just say okay, and now when I look in my list, I can see Nicole Frey, number 999, starting on this day. So Manage Numbers is going to give you a lot more control in assigning your giver numbers and when you want them to take effect. All right. But if you want more specific information on the Manage Number screen, check out the webinar I did. I think it was last year on this. It's screen's very flexible. A lot of good information here. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is gives with family. So this is, I get questions on this a lot on support calls. So if you have a couple and they exist in the same household over in membership, you can link them together where the software sees them as one giving unit. They get one statement. When you show reports that are going to show giving unit totals, they're going to show them combined. And the nice thing about it is if you have a couple and you both want them to show the same number, once you check them gives with family, they're going to share that number. So they are part of, I like to call them a giving unit, okay? So if you quickly look here at Donna and Bill and Nikki and Evan, you can see at a very quick glance, their giver number boxes are both blue and they're sharing the same number, okay? So what that tells us very quickly is that Bill and Donna and also Evan and Nikki, they are giving units. They give together, okay? They both are sharing the same number. They're going to get one statement with that number at the top with their family name, their mailing label printed at the top as well. Now, how do you combine somebody? All you have to do, let's go down to my family that I popped in here. Highlight the first person that makes up part of the family. Doesn't really matter if you start with Mitchell or Rachel, just pick one. And then you come over here to the right, you go to this giver number tab, and then you check gives with family, okay? It turns Mitch's box blue. Come down here to Rachel, highlight Rachel, giver number, gives with family. Now that we both have blue boxes, the software is smart enough to know we exist in the same household over in membership. We are now together as a giving unit, okay? Now, say we want a giver number. If that's the case and you're okay with that number starting from the first of the year, you can hit the Go to Family button. It's going to jump right to Mitchell and Rachel Klein, and I can click right in this box, or I can click in this box, and I can easily type in the number I want us to have, and that number will start for us as of the first of the year, okay? So some people like to put the number on one of the spouses first, then check them gives with family, then check the other person. You can do it in either order. The biggest thing to remember when creating giving units is you have to check both people gives with family, okay? That's really all there is to it. There's a couple examples in the book you can look through if you have the book, but bottom line is you have to check them both, and they have to be in the same family. Donations givers, you can't check them gives with family because they have no family that they give with because they're entered as an individual or they're entered as a group, which they're already listed with their other person. So gives with family only exists for those couples, okay? And I know I'm going a little bit over with our audio issue at the beginning, so if you have to leave, please sign out. That's totally fine. Couple other things I want to talk about here in Manage Givers. I am on page 21. Over here to the right on the Name tab, you have several options, okay? Let's go to, where's Pam? Here she is. Okay, so Pam is a donations giver. So this record exists, again, only in donations. So you are going to have more options over here on the right to handle her record. My record, where I'm with Mitch, we're from membership. So if I need to change things about my membership record, I have to go over to the membership module to do that because that's where the data originated. That's where I'm pulling it from. Okay, so for Pam, you can make her inactive right here. Say she's not coming around anymore. You can do that right here. If she leaves a church or you need to remove the record, you can hit the delete button, and as long as there's no giving, it will allow you to do that. Now, if I go to myself, you're going to see a lot of this is grayed out, and it wants me to go over to membership to make those changes. Okay, but Pam, you can come in here and update anything right here on this record because this record is a donations individual. Over here to the right, you have your giver number tab. If you need to make changes, you can do that here. Phone and email tab, because it's a donations giver, again, this is where you would put in the contact information or where you want the donation statement to go. Address. Add an address for Pam. If you didn't do that on the first step when you entered her record, hit the little green plus sign, pop in the address information right here. And then also files and documents. You can attach a file or a document to records here in Manage Givers. So if there's something that you need to, if there's something else that you need to attach to someone, like a lot of times people would do like birth certificate, marriage certificate, things like that. You can also do that in membership, but if you find you have something, some type of file that you want to put on one of your records in Church Windows, you can do that right here on Files and Documents, okay? Now, something else really, really important that I get all the time, especially around the end of the year when people are printing donation statements. It's this receive statement box, and we're going to end with this topic. If you need to print a donation statement for someone, this box has to be checked. They can meet every piece of criteria that you put in when you go to run your statements. But if this box isn't checked, the program will not generate a statement for them. So if you find, golly, I am missing Pam's donation statement. I know she gave. Why is she not coming up? It's probably because this box isn't checked for that person. And if you go to run a donation statement and it says received statement is false, that means this box isn't checked for that person. So you need to come back in here and make sure it's checked. All right. Now, something people ask about. If I go to Mitch's record down here and I look over to the right and I'm trying to click this box, it's grayed out. I can't make any changes here to tell them that I want Mitch to receive a donation statement. Well, what we can see here, if we go to the Giver Number tab, and if we look in the blue field, is that Mitch is checked Gives with Family. So if I will need to change how he receives a statement, I need to do it for the unit. I need to do it for the family. So I can hit Go to Family, and it's going to jump me right here to the family record for Mitch and Rachel. And if I go back to my Name tab, I can now see that I have that little check mark here for Receives a Statement, and I can check it here. Okay, so long story short, if they give as a family, meaning their check gives with family, you need to come to the Name tab, check Receive Statement here. If they give by themselves, they give individually, where they are not checked Gives with Family, then you come back here on the Individual Givers tab and you can check the Receive Statement box here. Okay,